you got a real good chance right now to do it well. So why don't you take that chance?
Yeah.
If it's a trip to the wholesale, a couple more trips to the van, you're right here, you're right now. This is your chance to do it right.
Yeah.
So
That's
he
good.
passed that on to me, luckily.
Hey guys, welcome to Make Trades Great Again podcast. I'm Eric. He's Andy. We have a guest today, Adam Parent from Alberta, Canada, an apprentice. Just kind of answering the call, Andy, when we put it out there just a couple episodes ago to have an apprentice on. I think you invited him on, right?
Yeah. I think we got the message on the Spotify text message. So
Yeah.
that was the start of it.
Well, some of our best episodes, I guess, and I'll qualify that by saying some of the episodes that have the most amount of downloads are about apprenticeship. And Adam wrote in recently saying, "Hey, I'd love to be on the show. I'm an apprentice, fourth year. I've got a pretty cool work background. We'll get into that. But I want to introduce everybody to Adam. Adam, you've been doing plumbing and heating up in Canada this is your fourth year, right?
Yep, just over 4 years.
And you're working for you got a pretty cool background on how you got to where you're at. But right now you're working for a pretty cool, smaller company where you're working maybe alongside or with the owner.
Yeah, not alongside most of the time, but it's a 2-van operation. We don't have a shop. So just the 2 vans, the owner and myself, and a first year that we share. And he's kind of on a who needs a most basis.
Yeah.
In a sense. So, but yeah, we primarily residential install and service.
Excellent.
We get into a little bit of light commercial stuff, but yeah, we're beyond busy at the moment.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. Your background, though, as you started out, you were working, was it residential, new construction for a bigger outfit?
Yep, residential new construction.
A lot of rough ends, a lot of running, that kind of thing.
Yeah, lots of stairs up and down.
I think I've said this before, Andy, but we call that, in the Twin Cities here, we always called it tennis shoe shops. You ever heard that? Have I ever said that on here?
No.
Basically go, 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 go. We're not giving you enough time to do this job, so you better run. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that kind of thing. Sound familiar, Adam?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that certainly fits the bill.
So how old are you?
I'm 24 years old.
Okay, so you started basically right after high school, not too far outside of high school. You started an apprenticeship for plumbing. Give me an idea what that means. Do you have other friends in your age group that you grew up with, or that are looking at trades jobs or working in trade jobs currently?
Well, I don't know, out of my graduating class, I pretty much kept up with all the tradesmen. There was about 5 of us, so it wasn't hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a couple buddies that are electricians. Couple guys that are tinsmiths, and then I don't know. Majority of my friends are plumbers, I guess, but that's kind of by proxy. It's not not guys I graduated with per se, but guys around the same age that we just keep in touch. But yeah, I don't know. It wasn't a popular option when I joined 4 years ago. So out of my graduating class, I believe there was about, give or take, 225 of us. And like I said, I know there was 5 that went directly into the trades. Yeah. So there could be more now, but right off the hop, it wasn't booming.
So you say, you just mentioned this, so I'll ask you. It was not the popular option. Why did you do it? What took you there?
My dad's a plumber.
Okay.
And he's had a variety of cool jobs, worked for some cool outfits, and growing up I was able to see the life he could provide for us under a plumber's wage. And there was days when he came home frustrated and something didn't go his way, but for the most part it was, I was thankful that my dad worked so hard, and he didn't complain much about what he did. And that meant a lot to me because I was like, he never pushed to get my brother and I into the trades. He kind of just let us do, whatever we wanted to do. But so right after high school, I'd worked for a restoration company for 2 years. I graduated in 2018. I worked there till 2020.
Okay.
It was owned by my best friend David's dad, and so doing that too, we were alongside plumbers, electricians a lot of the time. Doing sewer backups or floods, whichever the case may be. And so I got to meet a lot of plumbers that way, and that too. I was just like, I don't know. I had a feeling like I knew it was for me.
Yeah.
I liked what those guys were about, and seeing their vans, and it. I don't know. It was a very easy choice.
That's good.
That's cool. That's cool. I think one of the biggest things for me when I started out, and maybe you can relate, Adam, is for the first time I went and did a job. I had little jobs through high school, nothing extravagant, nothing major. But first time I went to work as an apprentice, I came home at the end of the day. I was 1000% exhausted. But at the end of the day, I could see a change from, I was working new construction at the time. I could see such a difference at the end of the day from the beginning when comparing it to the beginning. Like I did this whole like bathroom rough-in and got it down into the basement and started digging the groundwork, and like, wow, that's a lot of something. You know what I mean? Like it just felt like that accomplishment of like seeing things done, and it wasn't like, having a job when you're, younger and you're like flipping burgers, or I don't know what, types of high school jobs you might have had, but I'd had a very variation of them. And it was never something where I could step back and go like, I did that until I started my apprenticeship, and there was a lot of satisfaction in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I know exactly like that moment of realization that you're talking about too. Like when you're, you've created something, and then I think what kind of falls behind too sometimes is like as you get like that becomes your normal. You're doing houses all the time. You kind of lose that sense of like, wow, like not that you need a pat on the back every single day, but it's
Right.
like, man, I got a lot done today, and it looks good. I'm proud of how I've left it. It's something to feel good about.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I still get satisfaction out of that today. I think there's a big mentality shift too when you go from construction. Maybe Andy, I think you've talked about this too, where you go from construction work, like new construction, whether it's residential or commercial, and then you start taking on, usually it's little pieces at a time. Typically it's kind of the progression of things, but you're not usually like thrown into service, but you
Right.
start taking on little jobs where you're sent out to go. There's a call comes into the company and they say, hey, can you run over and take a look at this? And it's now you're doing that service thing. Maybe it's a house or a building you worked on yourself. Maybe not. But now you've got that base of a little bit of construction work in building behind you to where that really helps on the service side because you
Mhm.
understand a lot more things. You kind of know where a pipe might be in the wall or where it should be. And then you kind of get that new appreciation for what you've been doing too. Like it's not a small task to start, to help have a part of building a building. It's just not. I mean, plumbing and heating, electrical, every one of us has a big part in the whole structure, the whole project. But then to go back and kind of fix things is a whole different ballgame. So you're doing a little bit more of that now, right? So you're doing construction, but you're doing more service and repair work these days. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much strictly service and repair. We get like the deepest we'll go into like a new construction setting would be like a basement development.
Yeah.
Okay.
So primarily residential service.
Yeah.
What do you think is like, do you guys get into things like full service? Or are you doing drain cleaning, things like that too?
Yeah, we do a bit of drain cleaning, and with that too, it's understanding, because I know how I would have piped any bathroom group you give me, or whatever the case may be. I know how I would have done it.
Yeah.
And, the more you do it, the more situations you're thrown into, you get, you can rely on your judgment better. And, even with drain cleaning, it's by far not my favorite thing to be doing. But,
Yeah.
starting a new construction allowed me to kind of approach it in a more efficient way, I want to say, because just like you said, there may be a clean out there. There may, you don't know what the last guy did, but if it's code compliant, you should have a pretty good idea.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny, after you've started doing service, how much you look back and go, do you ever, I guess, let me ask you this. Do you ever look back on a project and go, oh, man, I probably made that's going to suck for somebody someday after you.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I took lots of pictures of, rough-ins I'd be doing, like as a first year, like something, it was like something I did for the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm looking back, like it's 4 years. It hasn't been extremely long.
Right.
And I'm looking back and I'm thinking like, oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, God forbid that ever needs to be serviced. I'm
Right.
going to owe that guy a beer.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a few fan coils, in a building downtown that I think I was a part of that, I may have been the one that hung them too close to the wall.
Oh, for service work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Can't clean them, can't cut the pipes off, something like that, or just can't get to them.
I had a journeyman at the time that kind of had that mentality. Well, yeah, you can't see it from my house. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, taillight warranty.
And it's, and looking back, I'm like, oh, that's the worst.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's one thing I'm thankful for. Like I've only ever had the one journeyman, Rob, and he never took any exceptions. It was always, you got a real good chance right now to do it well. So why don't you take that chance?
Yeah.
If it's a trip to the wholesale, a couple more trips to the van, like, you're right here, you're right now, like this is your chance to do it right.
Yeah.
So he
That's good.
passed that on to me, luckily.
I think it's easy to look at everything you do. You've done it so many times now. You've done it 10 times. You've done 100 times. You think it's just like easy and you don't think much of it. Like, oh, I'm just going to, I put my hangers that so far all the time and this is what I use. And we're just going to do it the same as we did the last time. And if you never knew you missed something, that's one thing. Like if you don't know, you don't know. And there could be a lot of reasons why you don't know those details, or you could have made an improvement, or you weren't doing something right. But once you learn, that's what makes a big difference too. So like Rob's advice telling you like, hey, it's your choice right now. You can do a better job, take that risk, take the time. It's going to make a difference. What you do in that moment too makes a big difference, right? So like you make that decision, decide to do a better job because you realize like, oh, I could have did this a little bit better than I've been doing.
Certainly. Yeah.
That's how we learn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's one of your favorite things really like about the job ultimately these days? Like when you're looking forward to the week or you look back on your week, what is one of the things that sticks out the most for you that you think like, yeah, I do like my job, or I wish I could do more of that?
I don't know. It's like when you go out to the call and you're second or sometimes third mechanical contractor out there, and there's an issue or a price dispute or whatever the issue is, and you're able to resolve that in a timely manner, in an efficient way, and the customers are really appreciative of that. And I guess that'd be the second thing, is just the customers. Like I've met so many cool people. Our area of service is so small. We have about 75,000 people. Sounds like a lot, but like my family's been in this city for the last 50 years, so there's always a connection to be made. Kind of like, it's amazing how many people know my dad or my uncle, or you're able to, so instantly, like that there's that layer of trust there, and I like that, and I think that has helped me quite a bit. Yeah, it's just, and the stories you hear, like, there's not many other professions out there that allow you in people's homes to see how people live,
Yeah.
for good or for bad,
Yeah.
whichever,
Yeah.
job by job. But just, and especially like just being a young guy, seeing, how, well, this guy's a doctor, this guy's a fireman, this guy makes model airplanes, whatever the case is.
Right.
Like, you get to see what pays the bills, how they live, what makes them tick. And it's cool, it's neat. And yeah, I always got time for a conversation, any service call. If you want to talk to me or you got a story, if I'm the only guy you're going to see this week, then let me have it. I'm all ears.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of service.
Yeah.
Is less, I enjoy doing the work, obviously been doing it, 20 plus years, but, I think I remember one of my very first residential installs where it was kind of like a retrofit. I was installing a mini split AC unit, for this lady. I just heard the name was Carol. I can't remember her last name now. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so I put the indoor units in, just working my way to the outside of the house, and I come outside of, maybe it was after lunch or something, and there's a lawn chair sitting out by the outdoor unit, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. All right, whatever. And start gathering my tools, and I come back around the corner of the house, and here's Carol sitting there in the lawn chair, and she's, and I'm like, oh, great, and she at this time she's probably late 70s, early 80s. This is 15 years ago. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna suck, Here's this little old lady's gonna bug me while I do this install, And I remember, her sitting there, and okay, I'm a nice guy, I'll, make small talk with her and try and focus on doing this install, because I was green. I didn't know much about AC stuff yet. I mean, I knew enough about it, but it was probably one of my early solo installs, and trying to remember all the steps of, getting these line sets right and whatnot. And I remember her, somehow we got on the subject of, like, Carol, what did you do? What's your story? And she kind of went off, and she was a flight medic in World War II. And so she, it was just this cool thing. So when critically injured patients were basically moving from the, battleground to England or whatever, she was a nurse that was on these transport planes. And then after she got out of the war, she was, a flight attendant for, I don't remember who it was, American or something like that, for like 40 years, and it was just this like, holy cow, this is really cool. But it was that kind of having her tell that story that was like, yeah, that's a cool story that had led me down that path to, when customers come in and want to know what you're doing and want to see what you're doing, is have a conversation. What's what's their story? And I wish that I had written down more of it, because it'd probably make a pretty freaking cool book.
Yeah.
To
100%.
write down some of the stories of the people, not necessarily the story of the people, but just the stories themselves, I think is probably my favorite thing about it.
Yeah. Because everyone's got a story, some,
oh yeah,
some cooler than others, but yeah, they just need a chance to tell it, and the plumber's the right guy, I guess.
apparently.
Well, you're there.
Yeah.
Some cases they just need somebody to talk to. I've learned that over the years too. I've got a lot of clients that they do seem to truly enjoy your company, and that's pretty cool. That's an honor. I mean, they've asked you into their house, like you say. There are not a lot of jobs like that. They usually don't call you when they're having a good day. It's often not the case, and that's what our job is. So that's interesting. So you've worked with just a handful of different people. Any Hey, you brought up Rob, good guy over. We know him from Instagram too, but like, I think you said you worked with your brother for a little while. How was that?
Yeah, it was good. My brother, well, he had worked a year, commercial, just over a year, and then that project had come to an end. He had got laid off at the company he was at, and I said, "Well, why don't you come work with me, man? Like, be a sweet little operation." And so yeah, he came over, and I was a first year at the time, and then we had worked together for about 3 or 4 months then, and then I went off to school, and then I came back, and by that time, like in the meantime, when I was in school, they'd put him with a journeyman, and not long after the time I'd gotten out of school, he was running his own van. So,
Oh wow.
and yeah, he was 19, and it was just that's a lot for a young guy, and he killed it. He's a crazy plumber, and yeah, but it was good. We were both still living at home at the time too, so that made it a little bit interesting. We always used to hang out in the basement and watch our show together or whatever, and we kind of stopped doing that. And
Yeah.
I remember my mom asking me like, "Why you guys don't hang out anymore downstairs? Like he's upstairs, I'm downstairs," and I'm like, "I just spent 9.5 hours with the guy.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah, we don't have anything to talk about now.
yeah,
And I
but
got to spend tomorrow with him too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and the next foreseeable future."
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yep.
but then he went to school, and he's like almost exactly 1 year behind me. He just started his third period on Monday here. And but then there was a period, I don't know, about a year ago when we were both third years, and it just I think the shop I was at were short on vans or whatever had happened, and they put us back together, and we were together for like a good 8 9 months.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was sweet. I mean, it's a good guy to spend the day with.
That's good.
We and it was just like it's just so nice to not have to check up on his work, and he doesn't have to check up on mine like it
Yeah.
would be having a helper or an apprentice. Like he'd if we ever had a dispute, it was because his way was better, or his way was quicker, or my way was better.
Yeah.
And no, you should have done it this way.
Yeah.
But it was all for good reason. He and I think we kind of just fed off each other, and we learned a lot. We had done a couple larger scale boilers in terms of the residential application, and yeah, I look back at some of my best memories of being locked in that mechanical room with my brother, and we probably ran through a couple episodes of your guys' show, and
That's
just
awesome.
got down to business. So
Well,
I liked it. I liked the pace.
speaking of the podcast, like what are you doing like outside when you're not in school? Like I'm sure you're online, you're looking at social media, are you learning things there? Or I mean, obviously it's entertainment, but what are some of the things that you're doing in addition to just going on Instagram or TikTok or something like that? Like, is it podcasts? Are you watching training webinars, things like that? I'm curious
Yep.
because I know Andy and we actually met because of that kind of stuff. Like we actually
Yeah.
met each other because of like basically like online community training, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we've
Yeah.
got I'm going to go out on a limb and say it'll be a lifelong friendship from it, but we've learned
Yeah.
so much and we're still learning every single day. But I'm wondering what you're doing as an apprentice. Is it probably a lot of the same stuff, I bet.
Yeah. It's there's so much online literature out there, like, and I find like there's the entertainment side of things, like on TikTok and guys making videos that are, it's entertainment. It's informative as well, but I don't know, like the Coffee with Kalefi, that's a huge one. I've been tuning in for some time now,
Yeah.
and watching their video by video by video, and your guys' podcast again. Uh, there's a variety out there. Like, I know Navian as a company has a lot of online presence and
Mm-hmm.
anything you'd ever want to read, along with most major hydronics manufacturers. So even, I find myself at night going through different manufacturers, looking through their schematics, wiring diagrams, seeing, because I view it very casually. Like, I'm not studying it by any means, but then whenever I have to size up or design a system for a retrofit, I seem to remember those points of like little things I've read when I was scrolling through my phone in bed, and it sticks with me, and it can certainly help out.
Yep.
Like, there's a ton of stuff out there, and I think, for lack of a better word, like, you'd be dumb not to check it out.
Yep.
It's all out there, and because I don't have any problem scrolling through TikTok for 45 minutes on end every night. So instead of doing that, try and do something a little bit more productive, and still, luckily for me, I find it interesting as well. So it doesn't feel like much of a chore.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that's a good habit to be in, is staying up on manufacturers' websites, having an idea of what new products are out there, and not on the sense that like I got to have the latest and greatest, but as the industry shifts from technology or to newer technology, if you're up to date on it, it's easy. Right.
Yep.
Because it's not new. Right. You've seen that, you've heard that, you've done that. Maybe I had a journeyman that I worked with when I first started service that had told me, I'm trying to remember what the deal was. Something along the lines of like, if you don't keep up with technology, it'll pass you. Right. And I think it goes with
The guy with the gas valve stuff.
Yeah.
The old
Yeah.
guy. I remember.
And he says, well, hey, here's a prime example. Every boiler that I used to work on had a standing pilot. No
There you
electronic ignition, no flue dampers, no nothing. Just had an aquastat and a gas valve, right? That's the way the old ones were. And, maybe a rollout switch. And he goes, eventually, all of these safeties start coming along. And the boiler is more electronic than it is, hydronic.
Mechanical. Yep.
Or mechanical. And he goes, as soon as the electronic ignition control came out, he goes, I got a opportunity to go to a training class. He goes, everybody's seen whatever, the Honeywell S8910U or 8610U control board, right? In a little black box, and it's your ignition control. And, we all take it for granted now because that's like super old technology.
Yeah.
But he goes, when that was new, nobody knew how to work on them. It was that fandangled electronic, magic box, the magic Sparky box.
Yep.
And he goes, I got an opportunity to go do some, a morning training or whatever on like how to diagnose this thing. And it wasn't hard. And he goes, it wasn't scary anymore. And he goes, but I took that training, and he goes, I remember here in Missoula, he goes, there was this large group of individuals who had no clue how that thing worked. And he goes, I was one of 10 at the time that had taken this training that were like, oh, this is easy. I got this. And all of a sudden, he goes, at the shop I was working at, I became the guy that was working on electronic ignition. If it had electronic ignition, send Chris.
Yeah.
And he goes, that was a little tidbit of like, that he passed on to me is like, don't ever fall behind, just stay current. You don't have to install the newest, greatest thing, but know about it.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
yeah, that's great advice. I think I encounter, like I start getting in my head a little bit once in a while because these manufacturers of boilers, water heaters, furnaces, you name it, are coming out with new product all the time, and staying, aware of it and learning it and going to a training offered by, maybe it's my supplier or the rep or something like that is super valuable, because I'll get in my head thinking, well, do I need to install something? So like when I have to go service it, I know what's up. And it's like, well, it's not even like logical, because I can't install every new model from every manufacturer out there. It's just not going to work. It's not good for my business, and it's not logistically possible. But having the training and just knowing of it and learning as much as you can, or just being aware, is going to be, one step ahead too. So, and honestly,
Absolutely.
most of this stuff is pretty common from, like like they're not inventing technology, really anymore. It seems like they're just making it. They're all doing. They're all kind of doing the same thing, different box, different paint. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Like whenever I get a new boiler, like I want to be excited to open it and hang it. I don't want to be scared of how I'm going to connect my phone to it. So like going into, um, whichever, like we can use like Navian, for example. But, if you get into a habit of, like I said, like everything's online, like you can look through so much. So by the time you're installing it, it's just, like it just falls into place, like, I remember when they talked about this and, step by step, it's all there. And yeah, like, and you're right too. Like even if you're not installing the newest boilers of varying brands, like chances are if you're doing hydronic service, you're going to come across it eventually, so it's important to know the ins and outs of it, in some way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I agree. Andy's gonna fly out to Minnesota here pretty soon because we are actually gonna work together to install something that is new. but I commend Andy because he's like, I just want to get my hands on it before, because it's a air to water heat pump system and it's new to the industry. And there aren't a lot of these out there anyway, not yet. And they're going to become a lot more popular, especially like where Andy's at. Like it's going to be kind of the next boiler that hangs on the wall is going to be this kind of system for people who can afford it. And I'm sure the price will come down and everything, but hands-on in this case is going to make a big difference because we have the working knowledge of how it works. But there is, at some point, you do have to say, okay, I've done it. I got to turn the wrenches on this thing. I got to hang it on the wall. I got to see what it really is in real life. But if you ever get into a situation, Adam, where you think you can make a trip to Minnesota, or I bet you Andy will have you in Missoula, like open invitation, man. We can probably figure it out. I'd love to have the help too, by the way. So I'm really looking forward to Andy coming because I got to hang this stuff on the wall and I got to move this thing.
Dude, the thing is stout.
I have outdoor unit is, I just moved it the other day. I had to use my, my stair climber because I put the big pneumatic wheels on it. Like they're huge, and it makes the people watching on YouTube makes the footprint of the 2-wheel dolly, like the wheels on the base, makes it like 3+ feet wide. And it's like the only way I can move this like 400 or 500 pound outdoor unit that's massive in the crate. And I thought, if Andy wasn't coming to help me put this in here, this would be quite the challenge to do without him, so I'm looking forward to that.
And we're going to lift it up and put it on an 18-inch riser stand. So,
on that subject, we need to find a new stand, by the way. That company is flaking out on me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that one I found on Amazon.
I probably just got to order it.
I got mine sitting out in front of the shop. So,
well, as we wrap up, Adam, if there's anything else that you want to add to the conversation, I'd love to hear it. But I do want to know from you, like if somebody someone around your age, maybe getting out of high school or something, was thinking about the trades, you have a different perspective on it right now than you will 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, what are just a couple bullet points? What do you think you would, if they asked you, like, what do you like about your job? I know we've talked about that here already, but like, if you were to have this conversation with somebody that was 18, 19 years old, what do you think you would want to tell them? Just, a couple things off the top of your head, bullet points.
I think, it's just, you'll never know unless you give it a try. You got to give it a try. And the amount of like-minded guys around my age and girls that, I've talked to and that have went to university, to college, to, a different trade. Like it's just give plumbing a try. Like it's not, everyone seems to have this idea of what plumbing is. And, not a lot of people imagine, you work on boilers. Like,
Yeah.
you know, to most people, plumbers are guys fixing a leak under your sink or unclogging your toilet. But that's like less than 10% of my job. It goes so far beyond that. And I guess that'd be my biggest piece of advice is like, just give it a try. You'd be surprised as to how much you like it. And you don't need to be super analytical. You just need to be present. And if you can, keep up with that and show up, and, it's a great career, and you'll make a great career for yourself. And you'll find how quickly you become interested in what you do rather than, because it's even from like day one, like I never viewed it as a job. It was always a career.
Yeah.
Like I had a long-term kind of mindset approaching it, which you don't necessarily have to go into any trade thinking that way. But, for me, it helped me remain invested in what I was doing. And I think that's carried me to the point of where I'm at right now. Because it takes nothing. Like I'm excited to go to work every day. It doesn't have to be a special project. I'm not, it's whatever I'm doing. I'm up early. I'm happy to do it. And, it's just whether it's electrical, HVAC, or plumbing, there's something like there's great variation too. Like if you don't like one trade, it doesn't mean you won't like the trades. There's there's so many different options out there.
Yeah, that's a great statement, because I can think of 2 or 3 things right now that I would never want to do. And they're great trades, just not for me, man.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'd prefer not to be a roofer. I think I'd stay out the roof.
That's my number one. Second would be concrete.
Yeah, concrete. Yeah. It's a bit of a tough go, I think. I don't know.
I have a good friend who does
Sheetrock.
drywall. Yes. There you go. There's the third one. Boom. We just hit him.
But who's
Knock
to
those
say, man,
ducks
if
out of
I-
the sky. What's
you
that?
know, what if I tried roofing one day and I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it?
I've
It's a
tried
slim
it.
chance it could happen.
I tried it. I did it on my own. And
Yeah.
I look back at that and I think, yep, I did that. And then I also did sheetrock. Didn't tape it because I already can tell you I'm not going to be good at that. My attention span is not for taping and taping and mudding and, the finishing side of it. But I did that. And these were both on my own houses. And I'd love to see what that looks like now, about 25 years later, and think, I wonder if if it's still there. I bet you the walls don't look that good. I'll tell you that much right now.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Andy, unless you've got something else to add, I think we had a good episode here. It was really cool having Adam on.
No, I'd just like to thank Adam for joining us this morning. I assume you're getting ready to head off to work too. So
Yeah, that's right. I'm be heading off to pick up Johnny here quickly.
That's
Nice.
awesome. That's awesome. Adam, I do appreciate you taking the time to write in. And I'll remind everybody too, you don't have to be on the show. Maybe you will be on the show. It's up to you. But we love hearing from you, and you can do that pretty easily. You can send us a message over on Instagram. There's a link in your podcast app like Apple or Spotify right there underneath the show description that you can text us. And Adam, you sent us a text, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. We can't respond to your text, but we will try to respond in a recording or reach out in other ways, like I said, Instagram. If you're watching this video on YouTube, it's obvious there. Just leave us a comment, right? And I'm looking for those comments all the time.
Yep.
And we do appreciate the feedback, and you're reaching out. It's a gift to us. That's how Andy and I, that's how we approach it, and we take it one step at a time. We want to answer those questions or have you on, whatever you can. So please do what Adam did. Reach out, let us know how we're doing. Or lastly, Andy, they could email us, right?
they can make trades great again at gmail.com. Big long email, but send it away. Do your best.
It's the longest email we say, Adam. That's the longest email Gmail would give us. Make trades great again.
I believe it.
All right, guys. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day, everybody. Have a good one.
See ya.